Can you guess which organization owns more American farmland than Bill Gates, controls an empire bigger than Rhode Island, and is run from Salt Lake City? It's the Mormon Church, and their secretive agricultural network now spans over 1.7 million acres, worth up to $20 billion. How did a 19th century pioneer faith quietly build one of the world's largest private land empires? And why has no one told the full story until now? In the 1830s, a small band of religious outcasts pushed westward across the American frontier, led by a man named Brigham Young. Their faith demanded not just spiritual devotion, but practical survival. Scarred by famine and persecution, these early Latter-day Saints built their new settlements around a simple idea: self-reliance. Every community needed fields, orchards, and livestock, not only to feed their own, but to fulfill a prophetic command to prepare for scarcity and disaster. The doctrine of storing food against hard times became a hallmark of the faith, shaping everything from daily routines to the design of entire towns. As decades passed, these beliefs were tested by drought, pestilence, and economic collapse. Then in the 1930s, the Great Depression swept through Utah and the western states. Jobs vanished, families struggled to put bread on the table, and the need for organized relief became urgent. Under the direction of church leaders, the first welfare farms took root. Members donated land and labor, harvesting wheat, potatoes, and fruit to fill church storehouses. The goal was clear: no Latter-day Saint would go hungry if the community could help it. This welfare system grew into a vast network, blending religious duty with agricultural expertise. By the end of the Depression, the church's farming operations had become a permanent fixture, feeding the poor, training the jobless, and reinforcing the old pioneer ethic of working together for survival. These early choices set the stage for what would become one of the largest and most sophisticated church-run agricultural empires in the world. Stretching across nearly 290,000 acres in central Florida, Deseret Ranch is a world unto itself. Fenced pastures and open range run for miles, dotted with herds of beef cattle, close to 44,000 head at any given time. This single operation covers more ground than the city of Chicago and supplies tens of thousands of calves to the beef market each year. The ranch is one of the largest cow-calf operations in the United States, rivaling the scale of corporate giants and family dynasties alike. Deseret Ranch is not just about cattle. The property includes row crops, citrus groves, timber stands, and even water management infrastructure that supports both agriculture and the growing suburbs around Orlando. Its network of roads, irrigation systems, and processing facilities runs with the precision of a corporate farm, managed by teams of agronomists, ranch hands, and business executives. The ranch's economic footprint reaches far beyond its fences, influencing everything from local beef prices to county land use plans. Ownership is routed through ag reserves and Deseret Ranches of Florida, subsidiaries that operate with a business-first mindset while remaining tied to the church's broader mission. While some food produced here supports church welfare programs, most of the output, beef, crops, and timber, is sold on the open market. The scale of Deseret Ranch makes it a major player in Florida agriculture, a quiet powerhouse hidden in plain sight, and a striking example of how religious landholding has evolved into big business. Nebraska's sandhills stretch for miles, a patchwork of grassland and cropland shaped by wind and water. Here, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has quietly assembled close to 380,000 acres, making it the state's largest private agricultural landowner. These holdings aren't just vast, they're diverse. The church's Nebraska operations combine large-scale cattle ranching with corn, wheat, and alfalfa production, managed through subsidiaries like Rex Ranch and Farmland Reserve Incorporated. In counties where family farms once dominated, the arrival of an out-of-state buyer on this scale has drawn notice. John Hanson, president of the Nebraska Farmers Union, put it plainly. All of the land that the Mormon Church owns is land that individuals in Nebraska do not have the opportunity to own. The church's reach doesn't end with the prairies. In the Pacific Northwest, nearly 400,000 acres of commercial timberland add a new dimension to the portfolio. These forests, spread across Oregon and Washington, are managed for sustainable logging, feeding the region's lumber mills and commodity markets. Church subsidiaries oversee planting, harvesting, and reforestation, often touting environmental certifications and long-term stewardship. The result is a land empire that spans climates and commodities, from beef and grain in the heartland to timber in the rain-soaked Northwest. Scattered across Iowa, Kansas, Colorado, and Texas, smaller parcels round out the mosaic. Each state brings its own mix of crops, grazing, and local partnerships. What emerges is a pattern. The church builds scale not by betting on a single region or product, but by weaving together a patchwork that stretches from the Great Plains to the Pacific forests. This nationwide footprint lays the groundwork for a business model that is as complex as it is far-reaching. A network of corporations powers the church's agricultural empire, each with a distinct but connected role. Farmland Reserve Incorporated acquires and holds the land, while Ag Reserves Incorporated manages daily operations, planting, harvesting, ranching, and timber. These entities, along with dozens of smaller subsidiaries, handle everything from leasing ground to local farmers to overseeing multi-million-dollar cattle sales. The scale is staggering. Annual revenue from these operations is estimated between $1 and $2 billion, feeding into a land portfolio valued at $15 to $20 billion. In October 2023, Farmland Reserve closed a $289 million deal for 41,500 acres spread across 8 states, expanding their reach even further. Doug Rose, CEO of Farmland Reserve, described the approach simply: "We plan to lease these productive farms to local farmers." While the church highlights stewardship and community benefit, these deals are engineered for profit and long-term asset growth. The business model is built on steady cash flow, appreciating land values, and a corporate structure designed for both efficiency and discretion. Rows of volunteers in white aprons line the canneries, packing beans, wheat, and pasta destined for church food banks and disaster relief. Every year, hundreds of millions of pounds of food move through the LTLDS welfare system, enough to fill storehouses across the country and supply emergency shipments worldwide. The work is often powered by unpaid labor, missionaries, church members, and local volunteers who see their effort as an act of service. But beyond the welfare arm, the vast majority of crops, beef, and timber produced by the church's agricultural companies never enter these internal channels. Instead, they're sold on the open market, feeding into the supply chains of grocery stores, beef packers, and commodity traders. Ag Reserves and Farmland Reserve operate with the efficiency of any major agribusiness, and profits from these sales flow into the church's central investment funds. While the welfare program is real and visible, the scale of commercial operations far surpasses what's needed for charity. The exact split between welfare and commerce remains a closely guarded secret, fueling questions about priorities and transparency. David A. Nielsen, a former investment manager at Ensign Peak Advisors, brought national attention to the church's financial secrecy in 2019. His whistleblower complaint to the IRS alleged that the church quietly amassed more than $100 billion in investments, much of it shielded from public view through a labyrinth of subsidiaries and shell companies. Nielsen's testimony described a system where profits from commercial agriculture, including the sprawling farmland empire, were routed through layers of LLCs and holding companies. This structure made it nearly impossible for outsiders to trace the true extent of the church's wealth or how much was dedicated to charity versus profit. Transparency advocates point to cases like Osceola County, Florida, where local officials challenged the tax-exempt status of thousands of acres at Deseret Ranch. The dispute centered on whether land used for cattle and crops, not worship or direct charity, should enjoy religious tax breaks. After years of legal wrangling, a settlement forced some parcels onto the tax rolls, but left others exempt, underscoring the gray area where faith, business, and public accountability collide. The questions raised by Nielsen and local tax fights remain unresolved. How much should the public know about the finances of America's largest religious landowners? And where is the line between sacred mission and commercial power? Today, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints stands as one of the largest private landowners in America, controlling over 1.7 million acres, more than Bill Gates or Ted Turner. With an agricultural portfolio valued between $15 and $20 billion. This vast empire began with 19th century doctrines of self-reliance and grew through decades of deliberate acquisition, from Florida's 290,000-acre cattle ranch to 400,000 acres of Pacific Northwest timberland. Most of these operations now generate commercial revenue, with profits supporting a $100 billion investment fund. Yet, detailed financial disclosures remain unavailable, and the extent of land used solely for charitable welfare is still unclear. Ongoing legal disputes, such as the Osceola County tax case and the 2019 whistleblower report, highlight unresolved questions about transparency and tax exemption. As the church continues to expand its holdings in 2024 and beyond, its dual role as a religious institution and a major agribusiness raises important questions about accountability and the boundaries of tax-exempt land ownership in modern America.